Hello everybody, this is gonna be yet another video talking about Sonic related things over Sonic related gameplay. However, this time, I'm not schizophrenic. I was planning to make this video for about 2 weeks along with another Sage video, but my grandpa unfortunately decided he wanted to give us a scare by having a heart attack. So that was a little scary, but he's okay though. Again, sorry for disappearing for like 2 weeks, but personal issues, of course. But yeah. But also, not too long after that, massive amounts of Shadow Generations news came out, so what the fuck. So I guess, screw the other Sage video, we're just doing this one. I think it's really funny that this game specifically is supposed to be a remaster of Sonic Generations, but the newly added Shadow Generations is really the only thing being advertised, since no one really gives a shit, because Shadow Generations seems to be hitting it out of the park in places where the original Generations kind of lacks. And that's not to say that Sonic Generations is bad, it's just probably a game that everybody and their mom played countless upon countless of times, including me. It's arguably one of the most popular Sonic games, along with its incredible modding community. Everyone, I think, just wants something new, and Shadow Generations is that new game that just about everybody seems to be on board with. That being said, I'm glad the game generally looks the same. As much as I would have loved a huge graphical update to the game, I don't think it really matters when the original is already graphically impressive as it stands. I don't think I would have wanted them to try like they did with Sonic Colors Ultimate, that being the worst of the worst when it came to graphical quote-unquote upgrades. Now that doesn't mean there isn't any upgrades or changes they've done. There's some areas where shadows look different and they seem to have changed the shape of classic Sonic's quills, which is interesting. I wonder if it's a response to the criticism that classic Sonic looks more cutesy than he does cool, wanting him to be more akin to Sad AM or Junio Toei Sonic, which would be my guess. Honestly, I do think it makes him a lot cooler looking, so I believe that's a welcome change. Despite it being, so minute. They do seem to be advertising changes to the original cutscenes, too, which I am very intrigued about. We do know there is going to be a Chow Rescue type feature added to the game. They seem to be like a second set of Red Star rings. I do like the new UI for the Red Star rings they have now, though. That's really a nice change. But you can collect the Chow while they're scattered about in all the levels. They were also added to the very first cutscene of the game, which of course they originally weren't. So it makes me wonder if the cutscenes are just going to be small changes like these, where they are, for the most part, unchanged? Or is it going to be sort of a rewrite? Now, Ian Flynn is writing Shadow Generation, so I wonder if he has anything to do with the Sonic Generations part. I have no idea. The original Generations didn't really have a story. The game was more of a celebration of Sonic's history more than anything. Not to say it didn't have one, it was just very bare bones. Which is unlike Shadow Generations, because it does in fact have an insanely interesting story with complexity so far. So, yeah. So that fact alone makes me think they might be going back to the original game to rewrite, record, or do whatever to it. I don't know how much it's going to be. I wouldn't really mind either way if it's rewritten, if it isn't. I don't care, personally. Personally, I would make classic Sonic actually speak words, but I doubt that's ever going to be a thing ever. I also love the addition of the drop dash. I still think to this day think it's one of the best additions to Sonic's moveset ever since Mania introduced it. Classic Sonic stages are going to be way more insane to speedrun now, and I cannot wait. Modern Sonic also seems to have it too. Why? I don't know. He doesn't need it whatsoever, but I think they just added it because why not? Which I don't mind at all, because why not? It's pretty damn cool. I also like the fact that you can switch on and off whether or not you want lives. Something I wish they did for every Sonic remaster. I'm glad they're not replaced with like coins or whatever. I personally think those points you get from completing stages should also be used for like skins and customization too, instead of coins. Because when you buy every skill from the skill shop, you still just have a shit ton of them left over, mainly because you get a shit ton of them after S ranking stages, which isn't really all that hard to do. I already got my SA1 and Sonic Jam skins from the pre-order and the newsletter, but I'd love to see like some SA2 heroes, the little rabbit guy again, anything really. If you're willing to make these, I don't see why you wouldn't make those too. People would eat them up, for sure. But yeah, there isn't really much to talk about when it comes to Sonic Generations compared to Shadow Gens, really. Like, most of us, we've been playing the original a lot. It's endlessly replayable, and the modding community really just made its lifespan a lot longer than it would have been without them. I have experienced this game 10 times over, so my lack of words for it really just comes from already seeing what it has to offer. I'm sure it'll be like a great remaster. From the footage we've seen, it seems to be running flawlessly, something I wish I could have said for Sonic Colors Ultimate when it came out. Now for the part of the game that everyone is truly hyped for. Shadow Generations. Personally, Shadow the Hedgehog is my favorite Sonic character, and I'm already a pretty big fan of his original game that came out in 2005. With the way the character has been treated over the years, it's amazing to see that finally, at long last, we not only get a whole year dedicated to him, but also a new game that might as well be a sequel to that original game in 2005. Which is funny, because I would totally believe you if you told me they just wanted to make another Shadow the Hedgehog game, but were afraid it wouldn't sell well, so they just packaged it with a game that everybody already loved. And with Generations, they can fill that to the rim with nostalgia, bringing back old levels we loved from in older games, bringing back old villains that we loved in older games. Honestly, what I don't believe is fans screaming about wanting a Generations remaster. Because I heard no one say a single word about wanting a Gens remaster. Everyone, as far as I know, wanted Sonic Unleashed to be remastered. So I'm just gonna say Azuka made that shit up, but at the same time, I'm not complaining because the game looks phenomenal. And again, it gives them an excuse to bring back things we love, and finally, not Green Hill Zone for the 70 millionth time. The game graphically already looks like 10 times better than the original Generations, even surpassing Sonic Unleashed as well in terms of awe. Like, the reflections, the textures, it all looks really damn good. At least, it does on every other console other than the Switch, probably, which is one of two red flags I think Shadow Gens has as a whole, but I'll get into that later. When I saw the very first cutscene of the story trailer, I legitimately thought it was CGI, but if you look at it closely, it's absolutely in-game. Not only that, but the animations and fluidity of everything is incredible, which is something Sonic Frontiers was actually severely lacking. I think it's honestly really funny that someone on Twitter was nitpicking a thing on Shadow's in-game model, where his air shoe vents were actually missing, and they've been missing since Sonic 06, I believe, which is kind of crazy. But what do you know? The next trailer we're shown, the air vents on his shoes are back. And that's just it. Those little details like that would totally have been ignored if they had just rushed out the game like they've done before. And I know this is like a little bit of a weird thing to be fixating on, and I wouldn't be saying much about it if it weren't for the fact that they've explicitly stated how much polish they're actually putting into this game. Kirk Thornton, the voice of Shadow, in a panel about Dark Beginnings in July, specifically stated that he was called back into the recording studio to do more like voice recordings for the character, when otherwise it would have been a one and done scenario. He went back in because the team wanted to, tweak some things or whatever. And as a Sonic fan, that's kind of crazy to me. Isn't that pretty expensive? Like, I'm serious. They really are using all that Frontiers money they made to truly make this game feel AAA. Sonic hasn't really been AAA since Unleashed, or even the original gens, really. The vents on his shoes, his quills reacting to his arms when they're swinging around. Those were all added to the game after that first trailer was shown. The spring right here in the Space Colony Arc level, its lighting was kind of messed up originally. That was fixed. It makes me so happy that we're at a time where Sonic genuinely looks like it would belong alongside, Sony's PlayStation games or whatever, in terms of like little details and just overall the look of the game. It makes me so glad that Frontiers was a success. No, it wasn't the perfect game. Far, far from. But it's a game that will be permanently in our hearts now, if it wasn't already. The story, like I said earlier, is going to essentially be a night and day difference. Original gens, again, didn't have much of a story. However, Shadow Gens seems to be focusing heavily on it. Black Doom returns from the dead because of the Time Eater and wants to reinstate his promised time with Doctor Strange mirror dimension tomfoolery. Not only that, other not very alive characters such as Maria and Gerald Robotnik are returning as well, which, holy shit, that's gonna be hella interesting. Metal Overlord making a really 4K shiny-ass comeback. And of course, my boy, Mephiles the Dark returns as well, despite being literally erased from existence when Princess Elise blew out the flames of Solaris. They showed so much of the overarching story, yet still leave us with so many questions. Like, why does Black Doom do crazy mirror dimension shit now? Like, I know he did, like, hologram stuff in the original Shadow, but I didn't think he could do this, really. And then, yeah, like, is Mephiles gonna know he was erased from the original timeline? And will Shadow even know who he is, since the events of Sonic 06 are not remembered by, anyone? And how exactly is Maria and Gerald's reunion with Shadow gonna go? Can he change their fate? Is Shadow gonna have to sacrifice Maria and Gerald for the world? Or is he gonna try and sacrifice the world for Maria and Gerald? And who the fuck is the biblically accurate angel demon in the sky? Safe to say, the story's got me hooked. I think they learned by now that this is the type of storytelling we absolutely want in Sonic games. I don't give a shit if it's just Monster of the Week stuff. We'd love that. We will eat it up. Fuck you, IGN. Or whatever. I don't know. I'm loving how the gameplay looks, too. According to people who played it, it seems to control extremely well. Which I'm excited for, since the control in the cyberspace stages in Sonic Frontiers weren't the greatest. It controls nothing like cyberspace, and more akin to original generations, but even more control than that. Essentially, I believe it's probably going to be the best feeling boost game to date. Not only how it looks, but also how the level design is built around it. You can boost off of ramps to get to higher paths. You can wall run without assistance. It looks amazing to control. Fidel did this cool boost double jump thingy, which I don't think was on purpose, but it's so cool as fuck. Like, yeah, no, the gameplay is gonna be solid. The new Doom powers as well. When that Gamescom trailer dropped showing Shadow growing wings, my god. First we got the wings, the Doom wings, which obviously are gonna make him fly. Then we got the Doom Surf, where he summons this little black-armed stingray little guy, and he can just ride the waves and destroy debris and jump off ramps and shit. It's kind of interesting, since Shadow can skate on water anyway, But this just makes the gameplay so much more engaging. He also turns into like a creepy ass tentacle monster that I forgot the name of. Doom Morph. He can travel across this purple stuff that kind of looks like Methless's purple stuff, like he's in Splatoon. He also can casually swing like Spider-Man with it. And yeah, then there's Doom Blast, where he can beat the shit out of his cousin and choose where he wants to kick his ass into. And then he can Chaos Snap into him to get a ring box, or he can like go up to a higher path or whatever. It's crazy. And then of course, the power I've been missing the most. Chaos Spear, which can be upgraded into Doom Spears. Why do I miss it the most? Because it's cool. I liked it in Sonic 06, and hey, they brought back his Chaos Snap. He can teleport through laser gates like he could in the original 06. I don't know if Chaos/Doom Spears are gonna work like the original 06, but I would absolutely love it if they did. Essentially, it would be like the Frontier's parry of Shadow Generations. And I love the Frontier's parry. Being able to save yourself from certain doom, aka losing all your tower progress. Love it. But I don't know if they'll do that. In this trailer, Shadow isn't like suspended in the air when he uses it here, so probably not. I can dream though. The level choices so far are getting me hyped too. Final Chase, or the Space Colony Arc, and Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2 I think were a given. But Rail Canyon/Bullet Station from Sonic Heroes, Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06, Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces, Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers turned into a linear level? Okay, first of all,
your Jordans are completely fake!
Oh no! Shut up. My worst creation. Sonic Forces and Frontiers happen after Generations. Not only that, as far as we know, Shadow has never been to the Starfall Island since he was absent from Frontiers. So it seems like the story is not only going backwards in time, but also forwards in it as well. Unless Shadow has been to those places before off screen somehow. I mean, he does his own shit all the time. He's unemployed after all. Probably flew onto Chaos Island with his gun-issued jet glider or something. I don't know. Technically, you could say Shadow was in Frontiers. He was just in the background fighting his demons. I think the level we're really missing here is a level from Shadow's own game. It's kind of strange that you would take like Black Doom and the Black Arms in general from that game, but not a single level? I personally think they're probably saving it for us to find out ourselves. We do kind of already have a city level with Radical Highway, but it's kind of like it's not its own main level, rather it's connected to other levels. So far, only the Space Colony Arc, and possibly some side challenges. So I believe Westopolis is probably going to be the level they choose, since it's the most iconic from that game, being the very first one you play. But I also feel like it couldn't be that at the same time. Who knows what that biblically accurate angel demon is doing, but where's the Black Comet? There were levels in Shadow's game that took place on that thing. So we might see Final Haunt or, well, Black Comet in Shadow Generations, which I think would be cool as hell in modern day graphics. Editor me here. I just saw on Twitter that just barely, like, right now, that Jun Sonoy was just performing a remix of Westopolis for Shadow Gens at this panel. So, I guess the Shadow 05 level in the game will in fact be Westopolis. And I'm completely fine with that. That's okay. That's pretty cool. Anyway, back to the video. Now, we're not just getting levels from the games. We're also getting a level from the third Sonic movie as well. I was not expecting this. I was just casually watching the State of Play with my dad, and suddenly they just dropped this trailer after already giving us the story trailer a few hours earlier. Shadow movie skin. Keanu Reeves is voicing him. This is also looking like it's gonna be canon kind of, since he says something along the lines of,
I've taken on another form?
so I guess it's just video game Shadow turning into his movie version for a little bit. The gun robots also kind of are also being confirmed to be appearing in the movie as well. And this is all coming from that same ring, the same ring model that Frontiers' alternate ending used, which is so fucking cool. Literally, this is Tokyo, but a Sonic level, actually. And I could not be happier that they're actually doing something alongside with the release of the movie. This is such a cool DLC. It's coming out after the game comes out, and about a week before the movie. So, yeah. I wonder if... I don't think there's going to be spoilers in it, obviously, but yeah, I guess we'll see, you know? I guess whatever that second playable character tease for Shadow Generations is just Shadow still, but movie Shadow. Or it still could be someone else, like maybe Merle or someone, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. There's also going to be a rival boss against Sonic. But this time, it's from Shadow's point of view, since you fight him as Sonic in the original. Sonic, I'm pretty sure, also canonically wins this fight, so I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna go. In Dark Beginnings, we're shown that Shadow has that exact same yellow Chaos Emerald that he gives you after defeating him. So when Sonic wins, do we lose our ability to use Chaos Control? Or will Shadow finally be able to use Chaos Control without an Emerald? Now that would explain that one cutscene in Forces where he uses it without one in sight. Honestly, I just assumed he did have a Chaos Emerald because Sonic characters pull Chaos Emeralds out of their ass all the time. But hey, maybe he can use it without an Emerald. I guess we'll see. It's cool to see them expanding on the idea that is the white space. Originally, it was just a two-dimensional hub world, but in Shadow Gens, it's 3D, specifically taking inspiration from Sonic Frontiers' Starfall Islands. So this is how you get your powers and stuff. It also seems to be themed around Soliana. Damn, they really are capitalizing on Sonic 06. Honestly, I think Chaos X is the one responsible for all this. I think he essentially rewrote history. I think he's just that guy. This Shadow Generations wouldn't be here without him, I think. I'm pretty excited for this too. I loved goofing around on the islands and Frontiers, so getting more of that, hell yeah. I will say though, I'm still disappointed in the fact that they kind of are abandoning loops and corkscrews a little bit, like they did in Frontiers and Dream Team. Well, Frontiers is island specifically, and Dream Team just was absent from them, it kind of felt like. I was hoping since Frontiers' Final Horizon DLC update, we'd actually get the loops where the camera, like, follows you through them. But at least there's actually loops in the levels themselves, so it's probably not that big of a deal, just a nitpick. And finally, the only two issues I have with the game are, how in the hell is the Switch gonna run this thing? And what's it even gonna look like? Frontiers looked like fucking mashed potatoes on it, so I don't know. And why haven't we seen any Act 2s of the levels yet? In the original Generations, you had Act 1s and Act 2s of each level. Act 1 would be classic Sonic with 2D gameplay, and Act 2 would be modern Sonic with primarily 3D gameplay. Shadow Generations flips that around, with Act 1s being entirely 3D, and Act 2s being 2D, since classic Shadow physically cannot exist since, Shadow was never a child. We've seen nothing of these 2D levels except for little snippets in trailers. It's making me a little suspicious, since when Sega doesn't show something that's major to the game, it's because it isn't the best. But as long as it doesn't control like cyberspace, I'm good. Don't somehow make it worse either. It'll probably be okay, but I'm skeptical. All in all, I think I've talked about everything there is. I know there's the Shadow Gens anime and manga, but those haven't entirely released yet, so I'm waiting to gather my final thoughts for those at the moment. If you guys like a video like this from me and would like to see my thoughts on the manga and anime when they're fully released, let me know. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed. I will now start recording another episode of Mario 64 for you guys, since I know you all love those. Can't wait to play Shadow Gens here on YouTube as well. Again, sorry for missing for a little bit, but until next time, and remember, stay as cool as you are. I'm the coolest.